The Emu War, also known as the Great Emu War, was a military operation aimed at managing nuisance wildlife in Australia during the latter part of 1932. This initiative was prompted by public concerns about the large population of emus, which are flightless birds native to Australia, that were reportedly damaging crops in the Campion area of Western Australia's wheat belt. The operation involved soldiers from the Royal Australian Artillery using Lewis guns in an effort to reduce the emu numbers, which led the media to label the event as the Emu War. Despite the efforts and the number of birds killed, the emu population remained resilient and continued to wreak havoc on crops. After World War I, many veterans who had served were granted land by the Australian government to start farming in Western Australia, often in less than ideal agricultural regions. When the Great Depression hit in 1929, these farmers were urged to boost their wheat production, with the government promising support through subsidies that ultimately did not materialize. As a result of these recommendations and the unfulfilled promises, wheat prices continued to decline. By October 1932, the situation became more dire, with farmers preparing to harvest their crops while also threatening to withhold their wheat deliveries. The challenges faced by the farmers were exacerbated by the arrival of around 20,000 emus. These birds typically migrate to the coast after their breeding season, and with the cleared farmland and new water sources available from the Western Australian farmers, they found the cultivated areas to be an attractive habitat. Consequently, the emus began to invade farmlands, particularly in the marginal areas near Chandler and Walgowlen. They not only consumed and damaged the crops, but also created gaps in the fences, allowing rabbits to enter and create additional issues. Farmers expressed their worries about birds destroying their crops, prompting a group of former soldiers to approach the Minister of Defense, Sir George Pearce. Having fought in World War I, these soldier settlers understood the power of machine guns and requested their use. The minister agreed, but with certain stipulations. Military personnel would operate the guns, the Western Australian government would cover troop transport costs, and the farmers would supply food, lodging, and payment for ammunition. Pearce also endorsed the plan, suggesting that the birds could serve as excellent target practice. Additionally, some government officials may have seen this operation as a way to demonstrate support for Western Australian farmers and to counter the rising secession movement. To assist with this effort, a cinematographer from Fox Movie Tone was brought on board. Military operations were set to commence in October 1932. The campaign was led by Major Gwynedd Purves Wyn Aubrey Meredith from the Royal Australian Artillery's 7th Heavy Artillery. Under his command were Sergeant S. McMurray and Gunner J. O'Halloran, who were equipped with 2 Lewis guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. However, the operation faced delays due to rainfall, which caused the emus to disperse over a larger area. The rain stopped by November 2, 1932, at which point the troops were mobilized with the mission to support local farmers and, as reported by a newspaper, to gather 100 emu skins for the purpose of crafting hats for light horsemen. On November 2nd, the men made their way to Campion, where they spotted around 50 emus. Since the birds were too far for their guns, local settlers tried to drive the emus into a trap, but the birds broke into smaller groups and fled, making them hard to hit. Although the initial barrage from the machine guns was ineffective due to the distance, a subsequent round managed to take down a number of the birds. Later that day, they encountered a small flock and managed to kill perhaps a dozen emus. The next notable event occurred on November 4th. Meredith set up an ambush near a local dam and observed over 1,000 emus approaching their location. This time, the gunners waited until the birds were much closer before firing. Unfortunately, the gun jammed after only 12 birds were shot, causing the rest to scatter before they could take any more shots. No additional birds were seen that day. In the following days, Meredith decided to head further south, where the emus were said to be relatively tame. But he had limited success despite his efforts. By the 4th day of the operation, Army observers noted that each pack seems to have its own leader now, a large, black-plumed bird standing about 6 feet tall, keeping watch, while the others forage and alerting them to any danger. At one point, Meredith even attempted to mount one of the guns on a truck, but this strategy proved futile, as the truck couldn't catch up to the birds, and the bumpy ride made it impossible for the gunner to fire. By November 8th, 6 days after the initial encounter, 2,500 rounds of ammunition had been expended. The exact number of birds killed remains unclear. One estimate suggests 50, while others range from 200 to 500, with the latter figure coming from the settlers. Meredith's official report indicated that his men had not suffered any casualties, aside from a blow to their pride. Summarizing the culls, ornithologist Dominic Cerventi remarked, "The hopes of the machine gunners for easy shots at tightly packed groups of emus quickly faded. It was clear that the emus had been instructed to employ guerrilla tactics, leading their large numbers to break into countless small groups, rendering the military equipment ineffective. Consequently, the demoralized field force retreated from the combat zone after approximately a month." On November 8th, members of the Australian House of Representatives debated the operation. In light of the unfavorable media coverage, which included assertions that only a few emus had been killed, Pierce decided to withdraw the military personnel and their weapons on the same day. Following the withdrawal, Major Meredith likened the emus to Zulus, noting their remarkable agility even when injured. "If we had a military unit with the ammunition-carrying ability of these birds, it could take on any army globally. They can confront machine guns with the resilience of tanks. They resemble Zulus, whom even dum-dum bullets could not halt." Following the military's withdrawal, emu attacks on crops persisted. Farmers once again sought assistance, pointing to the extreme heat and drought that led to thousands of emus invading their lands. James Mitchell, the Premier of Western Australia, strongly supported the reinstatement of military aid. Concurrently, a report from the base commander revealed that 300 emus had been eliminated during the initial operation. Responding to the farmers' pleas and the base commander's findings, the Minister of Defense authorized a return to military action by November 12th. He justified this decision in the Senate, emphasizing the necessity of soldiers to tackle the significant agricultural threat posed by the large emu population. Although the military had agreed to provide weapons to the Western Australian government, with the expectation that they would supply the necessary personnel, Meredith was once again deployed due to a shortage of experienced machine gunners in the state. On November 13th, 1932, the military began operations and achieved some success in the first 2 days, killing around 40 emus. However, the third day, November 15th, was much less fruitful. By December 2nd, the soldiers were managing to kill about 100 emus each week. Meredith was recalled on December 10th, and in his report, he stated that there were 986 confirmed kills using 9,860 rounds, averaging exactly 10 rounds per confirmed kill. He also noted that an additional 2,500 wounded birds had succumbed to their injuries. Evaluating the cull's effectiveness, an article in the Coolgardie Miner on August 23, 1935, mentioned that despite criticism of the machine gun approach, it proved to be effective and helped preserve the remaining wheat. In spite of the challenges faced during the cull, farmers in the area sought military help again in 1934, 1943, and 1948, but their requests were denied by the government. Instead, the bounty system established in 1923 continued, proving to be successful, with 57,034 bounties claimed within just 6 months in 1934. By December 1932, news of the Emu War had reached the United Kingdom, prompting some conservationists to protest against the cull, labeling it as the extermination of the rare emu. Notable Australian ornithologists Dominic Cerventi and Hubert Whittle referred to the war as an effort aimed at the mass destruction of these birds. From 1930 onwards, the use of exclusion barrier fencing became a favored method for keeping emus and other pests, like dingoes and rabbits, away from farmland. In November 1950, Hugh Leslie brought the emu issue to federal parliament, urging Army Minister Josiah Francis to authorize the release of .303 ammunition for farmers. The minister agreed, allowing the distribution of 500,000 rounds of ammunition. In 2019, A musical version of the story was developed in Melbourne by playwright Simeon Yalelo-Glue and composer James Court. An action comedy film called The Emu War made its debut at Monsterfest on October 22, 2023. Additionally, another action comedy film reimagining these events, penned by John Cleese, Monty Franklin, Rob Schneider, Camilla Cleese, and Jim Jeffries, is set to start production in either 2023 or 2024. If you've made it this far, we truly appreciate you taking the time to watch the story. As a new channel, Wet Gloves values your feedback more than anything. Let us know in the comments what you enjoyed about this video and how we can make our content even better for you. Your support through subscriptions and notifications means everything to us. It's what allows us to keep bringing you these compelling stories. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you never miss an update. This is Liam, and I'll see you next time.